Hey everybody, Darren Cross here. Welcome to week one of Business 149, Business Math. It's going to be a busy summer. What you're going to find in each of these weeks is either 2 or 3 chapters, and so you really kind of you need to keep making progress here. So in week one, we're going to do a couple of things. First of all, I want you to make sure that you've watched the course orientation video. It shows you how to actually work through all of the things that we're going to be working through this summer. And also, you need to make sure that you have registered for the McGraw-Hill Connect course. Okay, so on the I explained this in the course orientation video, but on the left side of your menu in Canvas, click on McGraw-Hill. It'll take you to a link where you can register for the course. This lets me know that you are actually in the course. And you have to register for the course because everything happens from that course. Everything is linked to that. If you are not registered, then when you click on a lot of these links in Canvas, it's not going to go anywhere, okay? So all of your assignments except for the discussion board assignments are linked to that course. And then your textbook material is linked to that course as well. Okay, so make sure that you've registered for that before you do anything because that's where you're going to get the material. Now, in week one here, I'm going to look above the camera just a little bit here. We're going to be covering a couple of things. We're going to cover chapters 1, 2, and 3. And this is basically, it's going to seem super simple, but the thing is we're trying to lay the foundation and we're trying to just make sure that you understand what we're talking about before we move on. What you'll find is that each progressive chapter is going to be built upon things that we've already learned. Now, again, I said in the orientation video that when you are going through the textbook, as you go through each of the learning objectives, what you'll find at the end of those lessons is a video. So for all of this material, you'll actually have videos from the guy who wrote the textbook that tells you how to work with the material that you see. That said, sometimes I don't like the way that they've covered some things. So what I'll do is I'll actually supplement that with some extra videos that kind of cover things the way that I think they should be covered, or, maybe getting you to not think about things that they have you thinking about. But again, we're talking about chapters 1, 2, and 3 in week one here. And so let's talk about them a little bit. What we're going to learn in chapter 1, this is basically about understanding whole numbers. So we're going to understand all about place values. We're going to learn how to round to the indicated position. That's going to be very important. We're going to learn to use the blueprint aid for dissecting and solving word problems. This is teaching you how to actually break down what the problems are going to be looking for so that you can figure out how to actually solve it, okay? We're going to learn how to add whole numbers. We're going to learn how to estimate adding. We're going to learn how to subtract whole numbers, and we're going to learn how to estimate. We're going to learn how to multiply and divide, and we're going to learn how to estimate. So what are we saying there? We're saying if you know that you got about 30 bags of something that has 30 bags of marbles and they have about 30 in there, you know that it's going to be about 900, right? So if it's like 30 something or almost 30 and you have 30 bags, you can say I have about 900 marbles, right? So in the real world, in the real world of math, there are times when we really want to know specifically exactly what the amount is, but sometimes we just need to know a guesstimation, right? So you'll learn how to do that as well. In chapter 2, we're going to learn about fractions. Fractions is going to be a very important part of our life because we talked about whole numbers, and we do deal with whole numbers a lot, but actually we deal with fractions a lot. We deal with portions of things, right? So if you've had a pizza recently, then you know that you don't eat, well, I eat a whole pizza, but most of the time people are eating a fraction of that pizza. If you go and work all week and you get to the end of the week and get your paycheck, you're not going to get all of the money you earned. You are going to get a portion or a fraction of the money you earned. So we have to know how to work with fractions. So we're going to learn to recognize the 3 types of fractions. We're going to learn how to convert improper fractions to whole or mixed numbers. And we're going to learn how to convert mixed numbers back to improper fractions. We're going to convert fractions to the lowest and highest terms. Why are we going to do that? Because sometimes we need to understand how to do that in order to make the math easier. That's what we're trying to do. Sometimes it's by rule, though. Okay, we're going to learn how to add and subtract fractions. All right, so we're going to add like and unlike fractions. We're going to learn how to tell what's what. We're going to find the least common denominator by inspection and prime numbers. When you see prime numbers, just get it out of your brain. I don't even think about prime numbers. I don't care. You don't need to memorize what's prime numbers. So when you're going through that stuff, Don't worry about that, because we're just going to find the least common denominator, and that's gonna be helpful for us. Okay, we're going to subtract like and unlike fractions. We're going to add and subtract mixed numbers with the same or different denominators. So we're going to learn how to add. We're going to learn how to add and subtract mixed numbers that are like and unlike as well. Okay. We're going to learn how to multiply and divide fractions. So we're going to multiply and divide proper fractions and mixed numbers. And we're going to learn how to use the cancellation method in the multiplication and division of fractions. That just makes things a lot easier. Now, chapter 3 is about decimals. And decimals is another way of actually describing a portion of something. And you know that you deal with decimals, right? When you pay your tax bill, it's going to be based upon some number, and decimals come into play, right? If you look at the tax withholdings that come out of your payroll check, you're getting a portion of your check. It's going to be based upon decimals, because that's the way that we use math most of the time. So let's see what we're talking about in chapter 3. Number 1, we're going to learn rounding, decimals, fractions, and decimal conversions, right? So we're going to explain the place values of whole numbers and decimals, and we're going to round decimals. We're going to figure out what the place is, and then we're going to learn how to round. That's going to come into play later on when we're dealing with percentages and things like that. We're going to convert decimal fractions to decimals, proper fractions to decimals, mixed numbers to decimals, and pure and mixed decimals to decimal fractions. What are we talking about with decimal fractions? Sometimes you might have a portion of a portion, right? So when we're talking about decimal fractions, we might be talking about, 1.1 over 3, right? So we're going to have to learn what that really means and how to navigate with that, okay? So we're going to learn how all of that stuff interacts. We're going to add and subtract, multiply, and divide decimals. So we're going to learn to add, we're going to complete decimal applications in foreign currency. We're going to dig into that a little bit, but that's something that you may or may not play in your life, but you'll at least dig into it and learn what's going on there. We're going to multiply and divide decimals by shortcut methods. So we're going to learn some shortcut methods of doing that, okay? So really, that's it. I want you to get familiarized with this stuff. Make sure you register with the course. Go through all of your assignments and take all of those quizzes. The first 3 chapters are not really tremendously challenging. However, if you do have any questions or challenges with anything, by all means, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll do everything I can to help get you through it. So good luck.